So, in the first episode of the new season of Doctor Who, The Robot Revolution, the Doctor says he was given Belinda's name by someone. So, that got me thinking, who is it? The only thing we know so far for certain is that the Doctor refers to them as he.
I was told about you by someone. It's kind of a long story, and I've got to be careful about timelines. But he told me your name. Like it would be important.
But who is this mysterious he? Well, I've got 6, I think, possibilities to run through with you. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Hi, welcome to Culture Filter, my channel where I like to talk about all the geeky pop culture that I like and consume, including, especially at the moment, an awful lot of Doctor Who. So if you like Doctor Who, if you're following the latest season and want theory videos and reviews and all that sort of lovely stuff, do click subscribe down below. Now, let's get on to this mystery. Who gave the Doctor Belinda's name? Option 1, the Doctor. This wouldn't be the first time the Doctor has passed messages on to himself. There was an episode, I think it was Battlefield, in the classic series with Sylvester McCoy where he received a message from his future self. And there are various other points in the series where there's a bit of timey-wimey stuff and you kind of get a hint from his future self. So is that what's going on here? Is it going to be a kind of bootstrap paradox thing where he tells his future self, tells him to go and find Belinda because he knew he went and found a Belinda and that was important, and therefore it's just a big circular logic thing? And if so, is it going to be a future version of the 15th Doctor, or is it going to be an actual future Doctor? Now, if it goes that route, we may or may not see them. If they go, it's a future incarnation of the Doctor, they could show us it, and it could be a far future one that they haven't cast as the next Doctor, but they can just say it's, hey, it could be 100 regenerations time, or it could be the next Doctor and maybe they've secretly cast the next Doctor already. That would be kind of interesting. I'd be, as much as I don't want to see Ncuti go and I don't want to see the end of his era, if they have cast that next Doctor already, that could be kind of interesting. Or it might just be Ncuti, sort of like we had actually in the most recent episode before this one, Joy to the World, where future Ncuti from like a year ahead of himself came back and told him the code, and then the other Ncuti had to go and be him. Could be that situation again, although it feels really quick to do that again. So if they are going with the future Doctor, kind of hope it's a far future Doctor, a next regeneration, future regeneration type. Second option, the Master. It doesn't necessarily have to be somebody who's a good guy that tells him this information. After all, it could be an adversary of some kind. We know the Master in the form of the gold tooth that the Toymaker had, more on the Toymaker later, got picked up by somebody. Maybe he got freed from that tooth. Maybe he gave the information somehow. I don't think this one is massively likely. I have a feeling that Russell's going to leave the Master at least this season. I don't think he's keen to bring him back this quickly, but then again, who knows? He, back in whatever it was, 2008, before then he said he didn't want to bring the Master back, and then he did, so it's a possibility. If it is the Master, I kind of wonder what his motivation for giving the Doctor this tip might be. If it's a case of sort of just self-preservation, possibly, maybe, because hey, if the whole of reality is going to crumble in the reality war that's coming at the end of the season, that doesn't help the Master. The Master doesn't want reality to end. He wants to, have influence, possibly rule reality. He doesn't want it to end. So, yeah, maybe it's a self-preservation thing. Option 3, Rogue. We've got a bit of a loose end with Rogue, don't we? He kind of disappeared after flirting with the Doctor a bit, sacrificed himself so that Ruby wouldn't get sent into this random dimension. Are we going to see him again? Because it kind of feels like this loose thread where he calls out, find me. And it kind of would feel very unsatisfying if the Doctor never did find him. And it kind of makes sense for it to be the 15th Doctor that finds him. So is he going to find him towards the end of this season? And is he somehow going to go back and tell or has he already I'm working this out as I go along. Has he already found him? But we see it later on, and then we get the flashback to him telling his earlier self something. I don't know. I just kind of thought it'd be fun to throw Rogue in here because he's a bit of a loose thread that we kind of, I feel like we need to need to go back to at some point, and it makes sense to go back to him at least once with Shooty. Option 4, The White Guardian. Now this is a reference back to a classic series character. The White Guardian was the opposite of the Black Guardian, one a force for chaos, one a force for order, and he originally tasked the Fourth Doctor with finding the key to time, and then popped up again later in the Fifth Doctor's era. Now the White and Black Guardian kind of tie into this kind of like overarching, mystical, godlike era that we are currently in. And I've previously theorised that, hey, maybe Mrs. Flood is the White Guardian. But if she's not, then maybe the White Guardian gave him a little tip along the way, and the White Guardian is going to play a role in the later seasons. Perhaps Mrs. Flood is the Black Guardian, for instance, instead. Generally, the White Guardian is I would call them more of they are a force for good, but not in a kind of like always on your side, always on the Doctor's side type way. In a kind of like, they will manipulate the Doctor to get what they want, which is generally good for the universe, but still. Option 5 is the Boss. We've heard the Boss mentioned by two people now, the Meep and Rogue, and we still don't know who it is. I mean, it could be one of these people I've already mentioned on this list, but if not, and they are a completely separate character, this could be them. It could be the Boss, and maybe they're going to come up in the season finale. It's a mystery hanging over right from the beginning of the 60th anniversary special. So it's another one of these things that I really hope they do reveal who the Boss is this season, and therefore it makes sense to tie them into the current story arc somehow. So perhaps it's the Boss who gave the Doctor Belinda's name. He might not know who that is at the moment, and he might discover that towards the end of the season. Maybe it's just to him, at the time he was given the name, just a mysterious figure. He'd obviously need a reason to act on the information given, but I think this one has a high possibility. I'm still not sure who the Boss... I made a whole video about who the Boss could be, like, after the 60th anniversary specials as well, if you want to check that out. The possibilities have probably moved on a bit since then, but for now, we will... I'll just point you in that direction. I mean, let me know in the comments below who you think the Boss might be, and if you think it's the person that gave Belinda's name to the Doctor. Next, we have the Toymaker. Could we be seeing a return of Neil Patrick Harris as a surprise cameo in the finale? Now, there's been no leaks of him being on set, as far as I'm aware. I do generally tend to avoid the leaks if I can, so maybe there has been one and I just haven't seen it. But that doesn't necessarily mean anything. Hopefully, if they have got him back, it will be a nice surprise, and maybe they've just done it studio-wise. If he might not have even needed to be in the country to do it. He's obviously based in America. Maybe they just did a green screen type thing. Last we saw him, he's obviously trapped in that box, which the unit has kept. So perhaps, in some way, unit hook up some kind of interface with the box and we just get his face appear on the screen, which would allow him to have filmed relatively cheaply, relatively easily from wherever he is in America when they wanted him to do it, just with a green screen background, talking head style. So maybe we'll see him in the finale, and maybe he'll also have been the one that gave the Doctor Belinda's name in the first place. And finally, my final option is the Doctor. Yes, I know that was my first option as well, but bear with me. This is a different Doctor. This is the Richard E. Grant Doctor. The Shauker Doctor, if you will. For those not fully in the know, here's the gist of this. Last season, in the episode Rogue, when the holographic heads of all the past incarnations of the Doctor were circling him when he was telling Rogue who he was, after Rogue had captured him, one of the heads was Richard E. Grant. Now, Richard E. Grant hasn't been a Doctor in the main continuity of the show, but back in 2003, before the show was announced to come back, the BBC website did their own official, at the time, continuation of the show and cast their own Ninth Doctor, and this was Richard E. Grant. And after the series returned and it was obvious this wasn't part of the continuity of the new show, he was kind of referred to as the Shauker Doctor because he was in a story called Scream of the Shauker, which was an animated thing on the website. But yeah, last year his head randomly popped up in a floating thing of past incarnations of the Doctor. And we all went mad about it and theorised why. Once again, of course, I did a video about it. But we know realities are crumbling to some degree in the finale of this season, and hey, maybe there's a timeline where the Schalke Doctor was the Doctor, and the holograms were somehow picking up on that, and now he is going to be the one that comes in and gives our Doctor Belinda's name. I kind of hope they do bring the Richard E. Grant thing back in somewhere so that we get some kind of explanation of why his head was there. And this is the sort of way with the realities crumbling, it seems like the perfect opportunity to do it. So which of these do you think is most likely? Let me know in the comments below, and if you've got your own theories of anyone that I haven't mentioned here that could be the he that the Doctor refers to, let me know that as well. But if you want more season 2 content from me, why not check out this video, which you can get to by clicking on screen now, all about 8 questions I had coming out of the Robot Revolution.
Check it out.